Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking it out to the very end here. I'm kind of the anchor of today's virtual trade show, so super cool. I have a really great topic that I want to talk about today, and it actually flows really nicely into some of the things that we were just hearing from the team at Jabra. So that was a super cool presentation. I was really glad I was able to catch that one too, just before the DTEN presentation here. So we're going to talk a little bit about DTEN, about some of the technology that we make. We are a solutions provider for Zoom rooms and Microsoft Teams rooms. So I will be talking about that a little bit today, but first, I really want to dig into creating eye-to-eye meeting experiences and why this is so important. And I'm going to allude to a lot of the AI that we kind of were just talking about in the previous presentations, but I sort of want to talk about some of the reasons why this is such a focus, why this has become sort of a business imperative, why it's so important, and why you should definitely be considering it for your hybrid workplace. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about ways to maximize engagement and productivity in video meeting spaces and why this is so important. Why do you care? Why is engagement important? We're going to talk about eye-to-eye meeting experiences. I know we just heard a lot about this. Super cool. It's something that technology can finally provide for us. So I'm excited to talk about it a little bit. We're going to talk about ways to kind of choose the right technology for hybrid work. What are some of the things to look out for? What are the important things that you want to consider when you're picking technology today that not only is optimized for what we're seeing today from Zoom rooms, Microsoft Teams rooms, and some others, but also making sure that it's ideal for what's coming next. So if you have questions at all while I'm going through my presentation, definitely make sure you drop them in Q&A. We want to hear from you. I know, Nicole, you're pointing out lots of questions a minute ago, so definitely keep those questions coming. That's a really great way to kind of let us know what you want to know more about. So I'm going to start off by talking about prioritizing employee engagement for a more productive workforce. So productivity is something that's become a focus of leading organizations. They've definitely taken notice of this, and it's become something that when you prioritize productivity and engagement of your workforce, you end up getting a more productive workforce, which can benefit your bottom line. This has become a business imperative, right? Your business will be more productive and ultimately more, you'll get better ROI of everything that you do by just prioritizing engagement of your teams that are using these spaces. So we're talking about enthusiasm, showing up at work, feeling like you actually have say when you go into a meeting room and join in a meeting with everybody there. So you can see a pretty interesting poll here on the side of this screen from a Gallup poll, some poll data here, showing sort of best practice organizations prioritizing engagement just leaps and bounds above the average. So it's something that leading organizations have really taken priority of employee engagement, and we're going to see why in a minute here, why that's become so important. We're talking about higher profitability from all of your everything that you do when your employees are more engaged. Increased productivity, of course, decreased employee absenteeism. Folks just want to show up to work and actually feel like they're more engaged. And then lower employee turnover, right? I mean, we've all been there. When you feel like you don't have say at work, when you feel like you're not engaged with what you're doing, you feel run down. You wonder why you even show up at work. So technology can help us today to reduce some of those feelings, to improve everybody's day to day when they go into the office, when they actually go and engage with virtual meetings with hybrid and remote colleagues. So we saw it in the slide a minute ago, organizations that actually promote programs to boost engagement and inclusion report 23% higher profitability. So that's huge. I mean, we're talking dollars and cents here. So this is something that really can translate into higher profitability for your company if you start thinking about some of these technologies that you can use to help boost engagement. So what I'm going to talk about is kind of broken into three main categories here. So we're talking about employee engagement, which of course I've been going through for a while, and then providing eye-to-eye meeting experiences, because this really ties into engagement. When you're actually having eye-to-eye meeting experiences with folks, you feel like you're really having a true conversation, then suddenly it's different than just being talked at. And a lot of technologies that are available today don't always deliver this eye-to-eye meeting experience when you're meeting with folks that are remote or hybrid, right? You might be speaking to them, but they might be looking at the top of your head or the side of your head if you're in a large boardroom. So there's some technologies I'm going to talk through in a minute that are going to really help to alleviate some of those common issues we have with video meetings today. And then lastly, selecting the right technology for hybrid work. I'll run through some options that are available to you today, and then we'll talk about some of the benefits that those can provide to you. So one topic at DTEN that we talk about a lot, and if you guys have been to any of our webinars in the past, we tend to talk a lot about this idea of collaboration equity. This is something you probably heard a lot of like in the last year. It definitely became a topic that Avixa was promoting a lot. Zoomtopia definitely had a huge panel all about this topic. Microsoft's definitely been focusing on it as well. So it's just fostering a culture of inclusion and fairness where every team member has equal ability to participate and contribute. So what we're talking about is everybody, regardless of where they're physically located. If they can come into the office, if they're calling in from home, if they work in some sort of remote capacity where they might be on the road a lot, making or deploying your spaces so that it really helps to level the playing field, regardless of where folks are. Right, that's this idea of promoting inclusivity, equity, and productivity ultimately. So how can we do some of this? On this slide here, this is a quick little GIF, sort of a simplified version of the way Zoom Room Smart Gallery works. I know that in the Jabra presentation, we're talking about that a little bit as well. So it's identifying folks in the room and dividing them up and putting them all into their participant frames. And I know this is not exactly a new technology anymore. It's something that's been around for over a year, but it works really, really well in the D10, D7X. And it really does do a lot to help deliver that more immersive meeting experience, to promote equal presence and inclusion. And it really does lean into a lot of AI technology to help do that. So there's logic in some of our products that will actually identify what is a person and make sure that they're identified as a unique independent person, so that when it does divide them into this smart gallery layout, you don't have like two of one person, but from a slightly different angle, right? There's some really smart technology in there that's helping to make sure that everybody gets a box once, and then in their most optimal field of view. So there's that logic that knows like what is a good portrait, what is, you know, either a fuzzy or not ideal portrait, and it can weed those out and only send sort of the best image for each participant. So this is one technology available today on Zoom Rooms. Microsoft Teams Rooms is catching up to it, but this really can help boost inclusivity and just make everything much more immersive. So ultimately, it's a better meeting experience. So Microsoft Teams has some similar technology as well. But again, I really want to reiterate this idea that when you are thinking about technology that you're deploying in these spaces, aim for things that will deliver an eye-to-eye meeting experience, which is a much more natural way to meet. You think about when you go into a room to meet with somebody, actually in a meeting room, you sit down at the table and you have an eye-to-eye conversation, right? You're not talking to the side of them or talking to the wall where they're listening to you. So the technology should help do that as well. You know, a common issue that we have is when you're in a meeting room and everybody's sitting around like a U-shaped table, like you're seeing in this slide. If a camera is at the front of room, we call it, then the cameras often will be hitting folks kind of from the side of their head. And that can feel like a very strange meeting experience for remote participants because they feel like they're not actually in the conversation. They can feel like they're looking in on the conversation, like they're sort of peeping in on the meeting, but not actually part of the meeting. So it's a classic video conferencing problem. It's something that we've been struggling with, right, since before the pandemic. And you think about when you deploy cameras in a room, you're usually deploying it above or below a screen, and that will result in either sort of a worm view or like a scalp cam, right? We've all been in those meetings where you call in and you're looking at the tops of everybody's heads, or maybe there's a camera bar and it's mounted below the screens at the front of the room, and everybody's, you know, you're looking up at everybody's chins, and that could feel really weird as well. So that kind of results in sort of a lack of presence and equity in the meeting. You might not even notice it. When you call into these meetings, you're not going to be as willing to contribute, to jump in, to have your say heard, when you don't feel like you're actually part of that conversation, when you're having that eye-to-eye meeting conversation, when you feel like people are actually listening to you, paying attention to you when you're presenting. So what we're seeing on the right here is a a product from DTEN called DTEN View Pro, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a minute. But essentially, the cameras are mounted at eye level on the sides of the system. So when you mount your display at the front of room, the cameras are designed to be catching folks kind of right eye to eye. And this can work in a number of layouts. So whether your room is short or wide or narrow or fat or long, whatever it might be, you can tailor that camera angle to capture folks wherever they're sitting in the room. And you can see that there's these coverage wedges, those orange wedges that you see there, and then there's the blue one that overlaps. One thing that's really cool about this technology too is that it's offset. So even if folks are sitting perpendicular to the system, the offset camera will actually hit them face on, which it's really a very smart way to design a camera system. It's really unlike anything else that's available today. And this is available right now for both Zoom rooms and Microsoft Teams rooms. And it really does a lot to make folks feel like they're actually in the meeting, because again, they're having that eye-to-eye meeting experience with everybody who's physically in the room. So here's kind of a look at a room layout, 2 displays at the front of room. You've got a camera bar in the middle. And this happens to be the DTEN bar, which can be mounted vertically between 2 screens. But you'll notice that when the camera bar is mounted at eye level, and it's catching everybody in the room at eye level like that, it's a much more even playing field for everybody in the room. So the gentleman that's on the screen you can see in this slide is actually having conversations directly face-to-face with everybody in this room. And it's a subtle thing, but it makes a huge difference for folks that are actually trying to engage with the remote participant, and the remote participant actually having presence in that meeting. So I'm going to jump into some of the technology from DTEN. I'm going to run through some of our portfolio here. And again, if you guys have questions about anything that I've already ran through, make sure you drop your questions in the chat so we have some time at the end of the presentation to dig through those, and we'll definitely we'll either answer any questions you might have, or if I can't answer it myself, or we have Andrew on the call with me as well from DTEN, then we'll defer it and we'll follow up with you after the call, make sure you get the answer that you're looking for. So here's the DTEN bar. This is a brand new product from DTEN. It's certified for both Zoom rooms and Microsoft Teams rooms right now. It's very unique in a couple of ways. And one of them is that you can see the camera is mounted centrally on the bar. That's not new. However, the AV bar can be mounted vertically between 2 screens. So there's an actual accelerometer in this thing that when you rotate the bar, there's a physical camera body that will rotate in real time. So it's not doing it digitally. There's no software involved. It's a physical camera body that will shift to the orientation. So it's super cool. If you guys haven't seen the DTEN bar in action, definitely reach out. We can get you set up with a demo, or we're going to be at a number of trade events and expos over the next couple of months. That would be a great opportunity to come check it out. So you can see on the right side of this slide, there's 2 room layouts. One you'll see very common is there's the bar mounted below a screen, and then the one above, sort of that green color, it's mounted vertically between 2 screens. Why is this important? Why do I need 2 screens? Well, think about, when is the last time you had a meeting with somebody and either you didn't or they didn't share some piece of slide deck or a Word document or a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet or something? I can't think of the last time I had a meeting where somebody didn't share some piece of content. I mean, it's almost awkward now when you have a meeting with folks and you're just talking to each other's faces. It's like you expect that there's going to be something shared, whether it's a slide deck or a Word document that you're working on together, or a press release, whatever it might be. So when you deploy a space for 2 screens, what you're doing is you're securing space for collaboration, for presented media, for shared content. And then you have dedicated space just for all of your remote participants. So your Brady Bunch can call in on the right side of that screen, and everybody has their own dedicated space for their portrait. And again, this has to do with presence, has to do with inclusion. So when you're meeting with folks that are remote and they actually have dedicated space in that room on the screen, you can see them, you can see their reactions, you can see that, you can see their actual body language, which, as we all know, is like 90% of communication is body language. So being able to actually see that rather than just seeing a number on the screen or not seeing them at all because there's not enough space with shared content, deploying your spaces with 2 screens really helps to alleviate that, to maximize space for shared content, to maximize space for remote participants. I also referenced the DTEN View Pro camera system. This is so cool. This is a proprietary DTEN technology. It's very, very cleverly designed. There's really nothing like it at all right now. And these are camera systems that bolt on to the DTEN D7X system. It'll soon also be available for the D10 bar. What this allows you to do is add additional cameras to a D7X on the side. So if you have a D7X, if you've ever seen a D10 D7X system, it's an all-in-one system that has built-in camera, microphone, speakers, built-in operating system. D10 View Pro can be added to an existing system, whether it's Android-based or Windows-based. It literally just slides on to existing sockets on the back of the system. And then you now have 2 cameras on either side for a total 5-camera system. I know in the Jabra presentation a minute ago, we heard about a very similar 5-camera system for Zoom Room's multi-stream. Very similar system right here. So you have 5 cameras. Each side has a wide and a narrow lens, in addition to the wide angle lens in the D7X, just built into the D7X system. So you now have 5 cameras to pull from. Zoom's AI-based smart gallery system, their multi-stream, will use all 5 of those cameras to identify folks in the room, to find out, how to get optimal room view for each person in the room, and then send those streams. Everybody gets their own participant frame. So whether you're sitting in the back of the room, or you're sitting at the very front of the room, or you're sitting off to the side or something, that AI-based multi-stream system will pull everybody in, give everybody their own optimized frame, and you all feel like you have equal presence in the meeting. So it's not just for the far end, this is for folks in the room as well, because you actually see yourself on screen, and you know that remote participants can engage directly with you because they can see you and engage with you on an eye-to-eye level. They're not just looking in on a room where you might be like a speck in the corner. You actually have presence in that space. So I've already kind of talked a little bit about this, but let's talk more about selecting the right technology for hybrid work. So one thing that I will recommend and kind of argue for here is intuitive all-in-one technology. Why is that better than a component-based system? There's a lot of really great component-based systems that are available to you, certainly, but if you make an all-in-one intuitive system that's a single piece of hardware that folks can walk into the room, just tap the screen and jump into a meeting, it's super easy for everybody. There's no guesswork. There's only one single point of failure in the room, so it's much easier on your IT teams. If anything goes down in the space, they have one vendor to call. They have one vendor to deal with, to replace or repair anything might be wrong with the system. And having one piece of technology in there is very easy for, we think about some of the folks that are going into these rooms that might not be super tech savvy. It's way easier, it's way less intimidating for everybody going into that space where they can just hit go and it just jumps right into the meeting. So AI-powered audiovisual and touch technology, this is something that at D10, we don't design our own meeting systems, right? We deploy spaces and solutions that are running Zoom Rooms and Microsoft Teams Room software. There's very, very smart technology out there now. I'm sure we've been talking about it all day long. Think about when you're deploying your technology, how is it going to actually make use of that AI-powered technology? You need a powerful enough processor, for example. You need the right kind of camera specs. You need it to actually be able to make use of all these AI enhancements that we're seeing come out. Like every other week, there's something new. So deploying powerful systems that can accommodate for all of that is really, really important. And then lastly, it's got to be simple. It has to be super simple to use. It has to be super simple to manage. And one thing at D10, we pride ourselves on designing systems that are very, very easy to manage by a very small IT team. So a very small group can manage an entire fleet of devices across the entire country. We've heard a lot of our customers that will use our cloud-based dashboard to check device health, device status, firmware updates, right? Remotely turn things off, put them on sleep timers. There's a million things you can do through our cloud-based dashboard, which is included free with all of our systems. So just super easy for users and super, super easy for IT. Here's a look at our product lineup going into fall of 2024. So D10 D7X is our flagship all-in-one, something that I've referenced a little bit with those view cameras that you can add on the sides. This is the one that most folks that know DTEN know as for the D7X. This is essentially the fourth or third generation of a system that we came out with in 2015, initially with Zoom. Now it's the D7X. It's certified for both Zoom rooms and Microsoft Teams rooms. It's a 55 or 75-inch screen. It's a 4K display, has built-in 4K camera, has built-in stereo speakers, comprehensive microphone array on the top, built-in operating system, either Windows or Android. If you're looking for an intuitive all-in-one system you want to just put in a room, hang and bang, be out of the box, on the wall, and within an hour, you're in your first meeting, the D7X is the one for you. The D7X Big Brother, the D7X Dual 75, you can see here in the middle of the slide, comes with two 4K 75-inch displays. These are both touch-enabled, so somebody can go up and just touch the screen to jump right into a meeting. It includes a camera bar in the middle with the camera, and then stereo speakers, and the microphone array is all front-facing right there in the center of the system. And it comes with View Pro on the sides too. So the D7X Dual 75 is a comprehensive 5-camera system. This one right now is only certified for Zoom rooms, because Zoom rooms is the only meeting platform that can fully actualize all those cameras that are included in the Dual 75. It's Windows OS based as well. Next up, the D10 bar. This is our newest system that we've added to our lineup. The D10 bar is super versatile. I talked about it a little bit ago. This is the one that you can deploy above or below display at the front of the room, whether touch enabled or non-touch. You can also mount it vertically between two screens, which is the way that I recommend doing it, even in your smaller meeting spaces. Because again, we're always sharing content of some kind in our meetings. So deploying it vertically between two screens, not only are you adding much more versatility and usability to that space today, but I guarantee you, within the years to come, us sharing content almost in every meeting, that will only become more of the norm. And having that dedicated space is so critical, because otherwise you're not going to be able to actually see the folks that you're presenting media to. And that's not a great experience for anybody, whether you're in the room or you're remote. Next up, the D10 Me Pro 27-inch on the right side of this slide. This is our personal desktop unit. If you're looking for something you want to put on your desk, that is, everything's all in one, the camera, the microphone, the speakers, the touchscreen display, built-in Zoom meeting software. The D10 Me Pro does it all. You literally put it on your desk, you plug it in, it can either connect Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and it does everything from one single display. So I had a conversation with Zoom's Gary Sorrentino a couple years back, and he said that he has a D10 Me Pro on his desk, that he loves using it because he can use it to join webinars or meetings while he's doing other things on his computer. So it's like that becomes his dedicated meeting machine while he's also multitasking on other things right on his laptop. So he doesn't have to lose his entire laptop screen when he's in a meeting. He can just have his dedicated meeting space right there and this crisp 27-inch screen right there on his desk. So that's the D10 Me Pro 27-inch. Has a tremendous amount of other uses as well. We've had it deployed into schools. They've had it deployed into hot desks, and it's used for hoteling or checking in retail. You can also use it as a virtual receptionist or concierge. It's a very cool, super versatile system. If you'd like to try it, definitely reach out. We can get you one. You can try it in your space. At the bottom of this slide are two of our very cool systems that we've built that work in conjunction with everything else you're seeing on this slide. So the D10 View Pro, those are those cameras you can add to the side of the D7X that I was talking about earlier. You can see from this slide, they're sort of offset. So the cameras, when you put them on the system, they're angled in. And this is because you think about the meeting space that you probably were in today, the table is most likely oriented perpendicular to the room. So you have your screens at the front of the room, and then your table is perpendicular. So that means everybody's sitting, the side of their face is actually facing the screen. So having those cameras offset means they can actually get folks head on, even if they're sitting perpendicular to the display, which is super clever, a really, really cool way to design those cameras. That's available for Microsoft Teams rooms and Zoom rooms on the D7X. And then lastly, bottom right of this slide is our touchscreen controller. We have a 10.1-inch touchscreen controller that can be connected PoE, so power over Ethernet, for a wired dedicated connection, or we also have one for Zoom rooms that's Wi-Fi. So you can lift the controller out of the cradle, it has a battery inside of it, you can walk around the room, And while you're walking around the room, you can hold the DTEN Mate in your hand. You can control camera settings. You can admit participants. You can invite contacts. You can mute microphones. You can do it all from wherever you are in the room. So it really opens up the control of that space. So, say you have a presenter who loves to pace about the room. Somebody who likes to go up to a whiteboard and write ideas down. This allows them to take the meeting controls with them. They don't have to walk up to the front of the room. They don't have to engage with some other controllers on the table. The Mate Wi-Fi is just a really cool wireless, super versatile controller for Zoom rooms. So what makes DTEN different from the rest, right? I've kind of talked about this a lot. So simple to deploy, use, and manage. This is something that we bake into every product that we make. So our founder, when he created the D5 way back in 2015, which later became the D7X, he said to himself, if I have to include an instruction booklet in the box of this product, then I failed as a product designer. And this is something that we've really hammered into all of our products going forward. They're super easy. You literally pull them out of the box, you plug them in, and they'll tell you what to do next. So the D7X, when you plug it in, it says, okay, make sure that my camera bar is connected. Next up, do these steps to get yourself enrolled in either Zoom rooms or Microsoft Teams rooms. Are you deploying me as which meeting platform, right? So it asks you these sort of guided questions on the screen. All you had to do is plug it in, and the rest, it'll take care of itself. So it makes it really easy for folks that are deploying spaces that might not be super tech savvy. The tech itself can help get itself up and loaded on the wall. Almost all of our systems now at D10 are what we call all-in-one design. The D10 bar is the advantage, is the exception because it does not include a display. However, most folks would still consider an AV bar an all-in-one system. But we just feel like putting it all in one space makes it so easy for everybody to use, operate, and manage that system. Interactive collaboration, all of our systems except for the D10 bar have touchscreen displays, whether 4K or HD in the D10 Me Pro. So they're super easy to control. You literally just walk up to the screen, tap the screen, and then it takes it away from there. We've won a number of industry awards over time. Picked up Red Dot, Good Design, IDA Design Awards out of Chicago. A lot of industry recognitions here. So once again, I want to invite you, if you haven't tried D10, if you haven't experienced some of our systems in your space, we have some programs running. We can send it to you for free. You can try it for a period of time. Definitely reach out if that's something that you're interested in. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to my spiel today. And I hope that you consider prioritizing engagement when you're designing your spaces moving forward.